airports, the all-important mainstays that keep America mobilized. From dusty airstrips to sprawling multiplexes, these aviation centers keep our country connected in ways that beg belief. But pulling that off is no small feat. It takes mind-numbing logistics,
Tampa Ground Airport 27 is clear of the closure.
constant vigilance,
Yeah, he's definitely got something.
and a whole lot of elbow grease
Oh, wow.
to keep the airports of our nation up and running. From the time the Wright brothers got that crazy contraption of theirs off the ground, airports have been an increasingly vital part of everyday American life. So much so, the U.S. is now home to 20,000 of these aviation hubs that every year will move 1 billion passengers and about 44 billion pounds of freight across the country and beyond. It's a testament to just how much can be accomplished when engineering and organization work in lockstep to serve our society. But even a system this refined sees more than its fair share of challenges, and none more daunting than the one they're facing today. The Sunday after Thanksgiving, the busiest day of the year for the airport industry, with more than 3 million people winging their way to post-holiday destinations from JFK to LAX and everywhere in between. And before day's end, 50,000 of them will pass through here. Tampa International Airport, where it's the job of 10,000 workers to ensure that all those passengers arrive on time in one piece and with personal belongings in tow. And for the luggage alone, Tampa International relies on a labyrinth of belts, sensors, and scanners winding a full 4 miles inside the airport's baggage system. And it's up to baggage technicians like Brian Joseph to make sure that system works as it should.
As soon as the bags check in from the ticket agent, screened by TSA, are responsible to make sure you get to the airside for the airlines to pick up the bags. It's very important. Without us, the baggage wouldn't get there on time. So we could never let the ticket counter back up. That's our main priority, to keep the belts moving at all times.
But on the busiest day of the year, with some 100,000 bags set to pass through the system, keeping them all on track is going to be a tall order. So Brian and his colleagues use monitors like these to help keep an eye on the big picture.
This screen pretty much tells my supervisor where all the jams are, how long the jam is there. In case I'm fixing one jam, he could tell me where another jam is at.
And when moving items of varied sizes and shapes, most of which having been packed without the needs of a conveyor belt at heart, even systems this advanced can get backed up on a regular basis. And that is where Brian comes in.
Sometimes the bag will get jammed up, or sometimes the motor could overload or something go wrong, and we need to get the bags off the conveyor belts manually, one by one. One bag gets caught on the belt, and it's like a chain reaction. The other bags keep coming, one bag jam after the other. It's gonna back up all the way to the ticket counter if I don't move it quickly.
To clear this jam, Brian will have to pull each bag off the belt and space them out for better flow. Only then can the conveyor be fired up again.
There it goes. I have to make sure I put the bags back on. Everything is good now, it's clear.
But this being the Sunday after Thanksgiving, Brian knows he's in for much more of the same today.
It's pretty much the busiest day of the year. It's way more bags than a regular day. Pretty much we'll be running up and down.
While Brian digs in for a long day of slinging luggage, out on the tarmac, another of Tampa International's team is patrolling the grounds to make sure that the 600 flights scheduled for today will land, taxi, and take off without incident. Because just one delayed flight here can ripple through airports and flight schedules across the country. So, in an effort to keep everything moving as it should, airfield technician Alex Rivera patrols the grounds for any dangerous debris that could stop a commercial jet in its tracks.
It's a lot of important work that we do here, especially on the runway. We got to keep these aircraft landing safe. Any FOD for foreign object debris we have to remove. Any trash you see is picked up. No ifs, ands, or buts, it's picked up.
That's because jet engines like these pack enough power to inhale a full-grown man from 15 feet away. But even something as small as a pebble, if sucked into an engine, can cause mechanical failures on the ground, or, worse yet, in the sky. So when Alex says he picks up any trash, that's exactly what he means.
There's a piece of fod here in the front here. Someone took a latex glove off and just dropped it on the ground. Something that small can cause damage to an engine.
That's one crisis averted.
There's some plastic pieces on the ground here.
But out here, keeping debris off the runway is a near constant battle.
We have found necklaces, rings. We have found hearing aids on the ramp, paper, zippers from luggages that break off, and tags. They're being driven in tugs and bags open up, things fall out the bags. It ends up on the edge of the taxiway there and we just pick it up.
But not all items picked up on the tarmac are destined for the nearest dumpster or lost and found. On occasion, Alex will also find articles that have cleared security but subsequently fallen off one of Tampa International's tugs.
Look at this, looks like a package here on the road. Rochester, New York.
This particular parcel appears to be one of the 1 million pounds of freight scheduled to take off from Tampa today. And with his encyclopedic knowledge of the airport's comings and goings, Alex knows exactly where and when this box is supposed to be.
The flight's leaving shortly. Don't know if I can get there on time, but I'll try to make it there on time to get this package to its destination.
But with the plane bound for New York taking off any minute now, Alex may already be too late.
They're ready to push back. See the jetway?
It's hard to know exactly what to expect on Tampa International's busiest day of the year. And maybe nowhere is that more true than with the Federal Transportation Security Administration. You know, the TSA. Here, more than 400 officers will screen 50,000 passengers and over 100,000 bags to ensure that each and every one of them is free from any threats to travelers or the aviation system at large. And for the most deadly of those threats, they rely on a TSSE, which is short for Transportation Security Specialist Explosives. Or, in this case, he also answers to Craig.
My job as a TSSE is prevent explosive threats from entering our airports and making it past our checkpoints. I respond to actual threats that they call me for on the checkpoint and in baggage.
And all that keeps guys like Craig constantly on their guard. Because while most of us like to think we'd never bring dangerous items to an airport, you wouldn't believe how many of us do.
What we've got here are a lot of items, dangerous items that have been voluntarily abandoned on our checkpoint. This is just a small snippet of what we get throughout the year here. You can just imagine what we get throughout the country, all across America.
In a typical year, the TSA will intercept more than 4,000 guns alone at checkpoints across the country, most of them loaded. So, on the busiest day of days at Tampa International, Craig will need to be ready for anything.
This is an urgent message for Craig Say from Transportation Security Administration. Here is your message. Possible grenade, TPA. TCC was notified of a possible grenade on checked baggage.
A possible grenade in a bag is no small threat. So, while Craig makes his way to Pod 5, his fellow TSA officers in charge of screening checked luggage are diverting the bag from the main system.
The bag will be on the conveyor belt, get pushed by an arm to a baggage pod that'll be isolated. That's where we're headed now, and I'll meet the supervisor there. Once we're there, we'll open up the bag and see what we got.
Per protocol, with any potential explosive device, the baggage pod has been evacuated to 300 feet, with the exception of Craig and the pod supervisor.
Is that the bag at the end of the belt?
That's the bag.
It's easy to overlook just how much airports connect our country. But consider this. Every single day, airlines in America will fly a combined 2 billion passenger miles, which is more than enough to book a ticket to Saturn and back. And it's up to people like explosives specialist Craig C. to make sure that each and every one of those miles is flown safely.
I'm gonna go take the bag, move it to the search table.
But just as Tampa International's busiest day of the year, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, is starting to hit full swing, a reported grenade in a checked bag is already threatening that progress. So he'll need to put eyes on the bag's interior to see just what he's up against.
It's a CAT scan, so I can rotate the bag, the image, get an exact idea and location of where the grenade is in the bag.
By the way, there's a reason why we're not showing you what Craig is looking at. Homeland security and all. But these images are crucial to informing how best to proceed.
I can see that it is the exact shape of a Mark II grenade, usually the ones that you see in the movies. I can also see that it does have a spoon on it with the pin in it. You take the pin out, the pin holds the spoon on, but when you throw it, the spoon is the part that flies off.
That's the point at which your typical grenade will explode, killing everything within a 30-foot radius. But since this one appears to be stable, Craig, very carefully, moves in for further inspection.
I'm going to inspect the exterior all around the zipper, looking for wires, booby traps, things like that. Once I am sure that there's nothing on the outside that's going to hurt me or connect it to the grenade, I'm going to slowly open the zipper, do the same thing on the inside of the zipper to make sure there's nothing attached to the top of the bag before I can physically open the bag. So right now that I'm assured that the grenade is secure because the pin is in, the spoon is intact.
Even more reassuring is the fact that this grenade, though once packed with explosives, has since been decommissioned.
Basically just a hunk of metal right now. You can see the cutout in the bottom, but just for safety, I always like to secure the pin in place.
Decommissioned or not, this grenade could still contain trace amounts of explosives and will be handed over to airport police. As for the bag, Craig can now send it on to its destination.
These two pots can open back up for screening again. You know that the bag's going on its way in a safe manner.
Meanwhile, somewhere else in the baggage department, technician Brian Joseph has turned focus from fixing jams to preventing them. Toward that end, he's dealing with all the oversized and oddly shapen luggage that would otherwise choke up conveyors in a matter of seconds.
This is where all the big bags come down. It could be to bowling balls, surfboards, anything that is too heavy or the case is too solid, like that is gonna jam the system, we send it to oversize.
But despite Brian's best efforts, the regular-sized bags still find ways to cause problems.
Brian, come in. We've got a missing bag on Loop 4.
Down here, a missing bag is a worst-case scenario.
I'm on it.
So locating it post-haste will have to take priority.
If the plane needs to leave, it's gonna leave without the bag. So we gotta make sure we find that bag before they leave. Oh, I think what happened is the straps got caught onto the pusher, and the pusher, before he pushed the bag, pulled it back in instead. So the bag got pulled over off the belt onto the catwalk.
Luckily, with the bag's flight set to take off in 15 minutes, Brian should have just enough time to get it where it's going.
We rush it to TSA. TSA go hand search it, and we can send it directly on its way to the airside.
Back out on the tarmac, airfield technician Alex Rivera has a flight to catch of his own, one that a package he found has failed to make by itself. But getting it back into transit is coming down to the wire.
They're ready to push back. See the jetway? And the pilot doesn't like no delays.
Alex's only hope now is to intercept a baggage handler on the ground.
Go! Put the fell off one of your carts.
Oh.
Yep. Delivered to the airline before they actually taxied out, so it's in good hands and the package will be to its destination in good time.
With the lost package safely aboard and bound for New York, Alex can now get down to his main job for the day, ensuring that one of Tampa International's runways is prepared for a rainstorm that's forecast for this afternoon. Before it arrives, he'll need to perform the crucial job of clearing out rubber deposits left by thousands of landing aircraft.
The runway has grooves, and them grooves is for the water to recede off the runway and also for traction for the aircraft. So if those deposits are full of rubber, when it rains, it produces ponding on the runway.
Ponding creates large puddles, which could cause an aircraft to hydroplane, the last thing a 400-ton vessel needs to encounter during landing. So Alex uses a special piece of equipment that'll strip rubber buildup from the tarmac.
It's like your ordinary pressure washer at the house. This is more like on steroids here. It'll pump up to 40,000 PSI. So you need to keep moving. You can't stay still, or if not, you'll damage the concrete.
And since this also happens to be Tampa's busiest day of the year, Alex has yet another reason to keep things moving along.
Heads on the ground. Here we go with the rubber removal. There's no damage to the actual pavement. I'm getting to my stopping point where I gotta back up and do another pass.
In all, it takes about 8 passes to free the runway from hazardous rubber buildup, which Alex is able to knock out in about 20 minutes.
This is the way you want it to look, and it's safe to land on this runway here.
Well, almost safe. All that blasting can be tough on the runway's center line, which pilots use as a landing guide. So before reopening, Alex will need to lay down a fresh one.
Right now, I got some painting to do.
For the mere 10% of Americans who have never flown before, airports might not seem all that essential. Well, think again. Because without them, about 60,000 tons of precious cargo would be grounded every day, from fresh produce to medical supplies, perhaps even that organ transplant you've been waiting on. It's one of the many reasons why the men and women at Tampa International know it's important to keep things running smoothly, even on their busiest of days, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And with another 30 out of 50,000 passengers still scheduled to pass through by day's end, airfield technician Alex Rivera is working to reopen a runway he just cleared of rubber buildup. But first, he'll need to repaint the center line that got faded in the process, lest airplane pilots lose their main visual aid for landing.
The center line is 3 feet wide, 120 feet long. We're gonna do the white first, 36-inch white, and then we'll shoot 2 6-inch black lines from end to end with a 36-inch gap in between.
For that, Alex will employ another special piece of equipment, a rideable machine that sprays white traffic paint directly onto the tarmac.
Right now the line's looking good. We give it a few minutes for the line to dry, and it's quick drying traffic paint, so it dries pretty quick.
While the traffic paint dries, Alex breaks out the machine he'll use for the line's black trim work.
This is just black paint with 2 guns on either side of the paint machine. The paint's dry, and we're good to go. And the line's complete.
Job finished. The only thing left is to turn the runway back over to air traffic control.
Tampa Ground Airport 27 is clear of the closure of 1 right, 1 9 left at the north end of Vega. Thank you.
With all the people like Alex and his colleagues worrying about things like rubber buildup, grenades and bags, and jammed luggage belts, you're probably wondering by now, who on earth is keeping an eye on Tampa International's plants? Or maybe not, but Since nature does have a way of slowly reclaiming her own, like, say, present-day Chernobyl, there is a team dedicated to keeping Tampa's ever-encroaching vegetation beaten back. And the guy leading that charge is head landscaper Justin Van Vliet. And like most of us getting back to work after the holidays, Justin and his team have some catching up to do.
We got a work order about a week ago from upstairs that said that there was an obstructed view of this sign leaving the airport. So we took out these trees, backfilled them with some dirt, and we are going to order ourselves a pallet of St. Augustine grass so we could backfill all this in so there's no more dirt hole anywhere.
Rather than the palm trees that were obstructing airport signage, sod like this will be easier to keep trimmed down and out of the way.
We're going to water it every day we can for the first about 2 weeks. It'll root itself, and then it'll blend in with the rest of St. Augustine we have right here as well. This should thrive here. Job well done to the crew, but we got to keep moving.
While Justin and his men work to keep Tampa International's flora in check, back out on the airfield, another specialist is on the lookout for invasive fauna. Wildlife Mitigation Manager Nevada Smith. He's the guy in charge of keeping animals clear of the busy runways so they don't wind up in a jet engine intake. And while there's not a critter out there that he won't chase off, the majority of his time is devoted to birds.
This is a really nice place for birds. We have plenty of grass, it's flat, so there's just a lot of reasons for them to be here. Well, it doesn't do so well when you have all these commercial aircraft. So what we're trying to do is convince the birds to go somewhere else.
And why is chasing birds important enough to be a full-time job here? Because the consequences of not managing them can be disastrous. Remember Captain Sully's famous emergency landing in the Hudson? Yep, bird strike. And that was just one of the 13,000 of them that happen in the U.S. every year. So it's no wonder Nevada takes his job very seriously.
We have 2 cattle egrets right off the front of the truck here, but now we're going to hit them with the siren, and then hopefully they'll get scared and they're going to hopefully move a little bit further away. All right. And there they go. I'll hit them with some different flavors of sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 7. And now they've moved back onto the other side of the airfield. But see how they're landing? We still haven't scared them off the airfield yet. So we're going to have to up the ante here and start using our pyrotechnics.
It's the Sunday after Thanksgiving, the airport industry's busiest day of the year, with more than 5,000 flights taking off and landing across the country. And here at Tampa International, with 30,000 passengers processed and another 20,000 to go, Wildlife Mitigation Manager Nevada Smith is doing his part to ensure that none of them will have any dangerous run-ins with the local bird population.
We don't want birds to get hit by aircraft. It's just best to scare them and try to get them away from here.
At the moment, that means scaring off a flock of cattle egrets that are looming dangerously close to an active runway. But so far, Nevada's attempts at moving them have yielded little results. Time to change strategy.
The next thing we do is we're going to use the screamers. It's a pyrotechnic that we shoot from a pistol to scare the cattle egrets. When it fires off, it makes a screaming noise and then it pops. You can, rapid fire a couple of these and it move a big flock out of the way pretty quickly.
Finally, Nevada is starting to see results, but not quite the kind he needs.
He's still on the airfield, but at least we moved him a little bit further where we want him to go.
So, once again, he ups the ante.
Here we have another way to shoot pyrotechnics. It's a little bit longer range, a little bit higher. Just put it in there just like a normal shotgun. So we see that they're out over the highway now. They've departed out further to the west. We finally got them off the airfield. Any planes that are coming in for landing on the 19 right, it'll be clear. It's a real good result.
While Nevada and his small arsenal get back on patrol. On the other side of the property, head landscaper Justin Van Vliet is fending off a threat of a different kind. 300,000 acres of vegetation that, if left unchecked, would slowly consume Tampa International Airport. It's a job that demands near constant cutting and trimming. And this afternoon, Justin is focusing those efforts on some palm trees that have simply gotten out of hand.
These ribbon palms we have here are low growing, have a bunch of seed pods in them that are taking up a lot of space, so we're gonna trim them up.
For that, Justin employs a truck that will allow him to work 20 feet off the ground, where he'll remove the old palm fronds one by one, assuming nothing tries to stop it.
We gotta worry about if there's any pests up here, like paper wasp or anything that can go after us. We could have raccoons up here, possums, and the weather conditions is our biggest thing. In Florida here, it could change in 5 seconds. We all know that.
For now, all looks clear to start trimming, which not only keeps these palm trees under control, but promotes the kind of growth that Justin actually wants.
All the low-growing ones are deriving more nutrients, so if we take them off, it'll actually push the nutrients through the top and allow a lot more new growth to it. Hey, boss. Oh.
With reports of lightning in the area, there's no sense waiting around for it on the end of a steel arm. So Justin will need to take cover in his truck until the weather passes, hopefully soon.
This is very frustrating. Got a lot of stuff to do. It's very busy time of year for us, and we're just trying to get everything done in a manageable time, but we don't mess around with the weather.
While Justin and his crew hunker down, back inside Tampa International, TSA bomb specialist Craig C. is still busy ensuring that no threats of the explosive kind find their way into the airport. And already, he and one of his four-legged officers have their eye and nose on a suspicious individual.
Looks like we just got a K9 alert on airside seat. Hey, you mind rewinding that so I can see when the initial hit happened?
K9 officers like this one are trained to sniff out even the faintest traces of explosive material.
Yeah, he's definitely got something.
And when they do, that's when guys like Craig step in.
Right now, he's become a person of interest. He's going to receive screening in a lane away from the rest of the passengers. What you got?
So, sir, it looks like we have some explosives. It looks like fireworks.
It does. All right, we'll go ahead and roll it out.
If this passenger is in fact carrying fireworks, he'll be facing a fine of up to $14,000. But Craig will first need to take a closer look.
So we do have actual fireworks.
Okay. Fireworks contain explosive materials. Explosive materials are prohibited on airplanes, which means that you will not be able to carry that on board or check the bag with the fireworks in that.
Okay.
You could either take these back to a non-traveling companion, or you could voluntarily dispose of them at the checkpoint.
Just take them.
Okay.
All right, we'll just put them in the hazmat bin. So even though this passenger was able to make his flight, he's still going to hear from our regulatory section with a pretty healthy fine.
It takes a pretty large workforce to keep the airports of our country up and running, about 1 million people in all. And at Tampa International, on its busiest day of the year, thousands of them are working to ensure that 50,000 passengers reach their destinations without incident. But with 10,000 of those passengers still to go, wildlife mitigation specialist Nevada Smith is feeling the pressure now more than ever. This morning, he managed to scare off a handful of birds that might otherwise have collided with a commercial jet. But the afternoon breeze has brought in more than 10 times that amount, which is a little much for one man to handle. So he's called in some backup. Professional falconer Jackie Hurd and her Harris Hawk, Cheddar.
Cheddar's ready to have some fun.
Oh, she's ready. She's ready to work.
Hawks like Cheddar here are natural predators for almost every bird species at Tampa International. And when those birds lay eyes on her, they should clear out quick. All Nevada has to do now is show the hawk to the flock.
Okay, we got them in sight. Right off the 1 o'clock position.
Yep. So you can just stay parallel to them. Go.
Wow, she really scared us.
Come on. Girl.
That's one flock dealt with. Time to find another.
Looks like we have 7 or 8 cattle egrets here, and seems like they like this ditch.
Yeah, you got about 12 cattle egrets that she chased off, and I'd say probably about 20 they look like boat-tailed grackles.
She did a great job. It was really nice to see her work. It's exactly what we're looking for. So made things a little bit better here at Tampa Airport.
While Nevada and his new partners get back on patrol, not far away, a handful of their colleagues are still sitting idle. There's been lightning detected nearby, and until it's gone, landscaper Justin Van Vliet will have to stay out of the treetops he was trimming.
We're here waiting for a phone call from my superintendent, so that way we can proceed with our work. But until then, we are grounded and we are to stay safe under cover. How's it going there, Sean? Awesome, I really appreciate it, thank you. Looks like we got the all clear to go back to work.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
The team given the go-ahead, Justin gears up to resume work. But with clouds still nearby, he'll have to move quickly or risk being shut down again.
Looks good. If you look at it, we kind of have it at the 10 and 2 mark with the fronds. Everything's cleaned up on the bottom, and we're good to go.
1 down, 2 to go. In the meantime,
Eric!
Justin calls the rest of his crew to get a head start on cleanup.
Looking good. That one is completely finished. Glad I can get these palm trees done, and the weather held out just enough to finish the job. With all of our crews in place and all the help from as a whole, we got everything completed we need to get to in a time crunch in this busy time of year, and I couldn't be happier.
Meanwhile, inside Tampa International's baggage department, and after having dealt with the latest oversized luggage, technician Brian Joseph has returned to monitoring the airport's conveyor network.
This is my area. It'll tell me if I have a jam that I need to fix, or sometimes the tag is folded the wrong way or it's not out to be scanned by the scanners.
But on the busiest day of the year, quiet moments like these are always short-lived.
Oh man, it looked like a pusher is down. SF-103B, missing bag jam. Right here I have a jam. Is it a broken or is jam on the belt?
Pushers like this one redirect bags to belts bound for their destination. And while a jammed one is a relatively easy fix,
Oh, wow.
a broken one is a much bigger problem.
Sister one, I need an AST right now. The pusher head is stuck on the belt.
I'm copy, sir. I'll get the AST out there to a pusher.
Brian will have to wait for a mechanic to show up. But with 10 flights leaving every 10 minutes, his bags can't afford to do the same. So he'll have to keep them moving the old-fashioned way.
Just need to just keep moving the bag because it's backing up all the way to the ticket counter right now. I have to move it from one belt to the other belt. If I don't, it's gonna back up. The ticket counter can't check in bags. None of the bags gonna move. Oh, wow.
It's been a long Sunday after Thanksgiving for airports across the country, with record highs in traffic testing every facet of their operations. And here at Tampa International, explosives specialist Craig C. and his fellow TSA officers are responding to the latest of those tests, one that could put the remaining 5 of 50,000 passengers scheduled to fly today at serious risk.
Hey, what do you got?
All right, so I have a gun in the tunnel along with a chamber and a huge mask right here as well.
Believe it or not, people bring guns to our checkpoints all the time, 3 to 4 times a week. What we do is we leave the threat in the machine. The officer calls her supervisor. Supervisor comes over to confirm. Once he confirms, he'll get law enforcement en route to the checkpoint.
As you might suspect, a gun in one's carry-on bag is not something Craig or his colleagues take lightly. So, once officers are on the scene, they'll sort out how best to proceed.
So what do we got?
Gun in the bag along with the magazine.
Okay. Do you have your driver's license in here? Okay, the reason I'm asking you that there's been an image detected in your bag of possibly a firearm. Okay? Do you have a concealed weapons permit too?
Yeah.
You doing that? Okay, if you would, do me a favor. I'm gonna need you to get out your driver's license and your concealed weapons permit and give it to Detective Flora. Is there a firearm in this bag, sir? It's in here? Okay. Is there anything else in this bag that might possibly harm me or hurt anybody here?
There's gunpowder, just a container.
A container of gunpowder?
Black powder.
Okay. We're gonna need an explosive detection unit here. Okay.
While one officer verifies the passenger's driver's license and concealed carry permit, as well as checking for any warrants, the other performs a search on the bag.
The individual admitted that he had gunpowder also in his bag. That's when I came over, checked the can for explosives, and verified that it was exactly what he said. It was just gunpowder for reloading.
All right, sir, you saw what we were doing. You heard the alarm and everything. It did test positive for gunpowder. We ran the firearm. There's no wants or warrants for the firearm. It hasn't been stolen or anything along that line. You're going to be able to take that back up and secure it in your vehicle. All right? I will be carrying the bag. You will not, because you cannot take and walk through the airport with a loaded firearm. Okay?
In this instance, the individual was legit. His background check came up clear. And even though he didn't face criminal penalty today, anyone that brings a weapon to any of our TSA checkpoints is going to face a fine over $13,000.
While Craig returns to his post, back in the baggage department and with a busted pusher on his hands, technician Brian Joseph is scrambling to ensure that all the luggage caught up in the jam is redirected to its destination.
But with the pusher being done and the busiest day of the year, it's not good. It's not good at all. The bags must never stop. The belt cannot stop, never.
Fortunately for Brian, help has finally arrived in the form of an automated systems technician by the name of Rico, who should be able to get the pusher back up and running.
Pusher, right here. You don't want to go back in?
We just have to open it up.
All right, Brian, here's your problem, man. You have a broken chain bolt.
Oh, wow.
So I have to replace it.
How long you think?
I don't know, do it as fast as I can.
To fix the issue, the chain must be refed through the gears and the chain bolt replaced.
The end of this chain on both ends has a chain bolt that holds it in place on the pusher arm. So what we want to do is have some slack on the chain so it doesn't have a lot of pressure on it. So we'll just tighten this up, we'll test it, and then we're done.
Wow, Rico, it's working, man.
We'll put the covers back on it and call it into traffic.
Thank you, Rico.
Hi, man.
With the pusher back online, Brian can finally end his shift on a high note. As for the rest of the luggage, well, that's his colleague's problem now.
So you're gonna take this over for me?
Yeah, I got you.
I'm so happy to see you, man. Today was really busy, man. Well, I see you, man.
Okay.
And just like that, the day shift at Tampa International winds to a close, with the brunt of their busiest day of the year mercifully behind them. And though tomorrow's traffic will hopefully be a little more manageable, the work done in airline hubs like these will be no less important, because without them, our ability to move around the country in a matter of hours and ferry essential people and products to where they're needed most would be grounded for good. So just be glad that the men and women of our aviation industry, all through the night and come the morning, will still be hard at work on our behalf. Because whether on the ground or in the sky, they are an indispensable addition to how America works.